time introduce our featured guest, and that is the one and only, my good friend, Mr. Hank Stone. How are you, Hank?
How you doing? I'm good. Good to see you guys.
So nice.
Great to see you, Hank.
Wow, this is a long time coming, and it's a real pleasure and a real honor to have you on here on NOOM Radio, our first guest.
It's my honor to be first feature. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we were just talking earlier on how we go back quite a long time as songwriters, as colleagues, and it's I've always looked up to your music and have been influenced by your music probably over the last 15 years, and I'm really amazed at how skillful you are at creating your songs and your just an amazing array of sounds that come out of your guitar and the beautiful melodies that you create. I'd like to go right into one of your songs that we're going to play tonight, and that's the song "The River Says." And then at the end of that, we'll come back and start talking a little bit about your life as a musician, and you'll tell us a little bit more about the songs that we're going to listen to tonight.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay, here is "The River Says."
Water comes and water goes. The river stays right here. The water comes and the water goes. The river changes, but it stays right here. The sky above, the earth below. Live our lives in between. The sky above, the earth below. We live our narrow lives in between. What is the river? Is it the water? What is the river? Is it the shore? Is it the shore? Fish in the river, man on the shore, connected by a line. Fish in the river, man on the shore, connected by an oh so thin line. The river dances and the river speaks, and it leaves a meaning behind. The river dances and it speaks, and it leaves a meaning we don't understand behind. What is the river? Is it the water? Is it the shore? Is it the shore? And I love you, and you love me. That's the way that it will be. And I love you, and you love me. That's the way the river says that it will be. And I love you and you love me. That's the way the river says that it will be.
Beautiful, Hank. Love it. Love those arpeggiated melodies that you create on the guitar. They're really cool. But for all of those who are new to your music, let me just read a little bit about your bio so that people can just know and learn a little bit more about you from the beginning.
Sure,
Hank,
go ahead.
Sure, Hank has been writing songs for over 40 years, but only started bringing them out to audiences around 2001. He has since recorded 2 CDs of his original music. I think that might be up to 3, Hank.
3 now, yeah.
And is often performing either as a solo act and with his band Rough Folk.
And that's changed too.
That's changed to the Hank Stone Band. Correct?
Hank Stone Band, yeah.
Right. The Hank Stone Band features a good friend of ours, great songwriter from here on Long Island, Todd Evans on guitar, and resonating guitar, the one and only Mike Christian on bass, and Gary Ducato on drums and percussion, ably backing Hank's guitar, vocal, and harmonica. Hank, tell me, who have your major influences, both musical and non-musical, been over the course of your musical life?
Well, musical, of course, we go back to the Beatles and the Stones and Dylan, Paul Simon and Jackson Brown, Van Morrison, but even before that, before the Beatles, I was listening to the AM radio and all the diversity you got there, everything from jazz to folk to R&B to country, a little bit of everything. Everything was on the top 40, and you got to hear all that stuff on the radio. And most of the songs were under 3 minutes. I learned how to, when I started writing songs, it was like, get in and make your point and get out, do it quick. I do write longer songs now, but it's, but yeah, non-musical, well, I do read a lot, so I guess there's a lot of, I don't know if I can single out one particular author, but I get a lot of inspiration from books. Some of my lyrics come from just ideas.
Got it. And you grew up on Long Island?
Yes, I grew up in New York City, in Queens.
And so you used to go into the city, being a foreigner and never growing up in America, we always looked at New York and America as this shining city on the hill, with all the fantastic music and musicians that were around. So whenever anyone tells me they grew up in New York, I'm always interested to know about music. I often questioned our good friend Bob Westcott about him growing up in New York City. So did you used to go into New York and listen to music when you were growing up?
Not so much as a teenager. We started going to the Garden, Madison Square Garden, when the Stones were playing and the Who and all the bands in the 70s. And then towards the end of the 70s, I started going to some of the clubs for the new wave stuff. Bands that came over from England, like XTC and the Clash, I got to see a lot of them in their heyday. And some of them. Yeah, I started going kind of backing up into the folk scene after that. I realized, I could do more with just as much with an acoustic guitar as I could with a band. And,
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah, and you certainly get a lot out of your acoustic guitar. But when did you start playing guitar, and when did you start writing songs?
I was 8 years old in grade school. They had a music teacher, come in on the lunch break, and she had, I think, 4 or 5 of us in the classroom, and tried to teach like 4 different instruments. So there might have been a clarinet and an accordion and a guitar, and I just took up the guitar, and I guess I took to it enough that my parents decided to find a real teacher, and I studied with Dr. Felice Alfino, an old Italian gentleman who taught like 23 instruments or something. But
wow!
So I took lessons for a couple of years in Spanish guitar style, and foolishly I decided to quit. But I have a good backing in the theory and stuff, and the proper way to play. Not that I keep playing the proper way, but it was another influence, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always it's useful to have a grounding in the theory, even if you if you move away from it, or and the technique in particular. And I'm jealous of you having played guitar for so long. That's it definitely comes across in your playing that you're such a natural and you get such expression out of that instrument.
Thanks.
Totally. I totally agree. Um, Before you tell us a little bit more about the songs that we're going to be playing tonight, who are some of your favorite musicians that you listen to, whether they be local or further afield?
Well, locally, when I started coming out to the folk scene in the 2000s, coming to the Huntington Folk Music Society of Huntington and other great venues like Grounds and Sounds and the Eclectic Cafe, I started seeing some of the great songwriters on the way out, like Mr. Westcott, Martha Trachtenberg, James O'Malley, Kathy Krager, Steve Robinson. And I was like, wow, these people are great. And after a few years, I'm sharing billings with them. Like I just did a show 2 years ago with Steve Robinson. And then there's a lot of the up and coming people now that aren't as well known, but should be. Well, Josie Bello, we did a show last year together at Hard Luck Cafe, and she's a wonderful writer. Ben Diamond is another fellow who I like a lot of his stuff. Mm-hmm. Eli Maniscalco, a youngster. There's just so many people out there. I'd be slighting people that I don't mention, but there's a lot of others. And as far as non-local, well, I just, I have my streaming platform sends me a list every week of here's stuff you might like. And yeah, maybe 1 out of 3 I think is really great. So there is a lot of really good stuff out there. And I just, it's a shame that it can't all get popular, because a lot of it is deserving.
Maybe not popular, but always encouraging songwriters, young and old, to write songs. You can only get better, and using forums like this to spread your information, your music is a good idea. Hank, I'd like to get to your next song. Could you tell us a little bit more about Toodaloo?
Yeah, I was just looking it up recently because I've been trying to work out a compilation of my lyrics, put together a book or something with some essays about them all. And this song, Toodaloo, I looked back and I was amazed. I actually wrote it in 1991 when I wasn't playing out anywhere. I was just, still writing. I was playing the guitar for myself and for the family and, keeping a little notebook of stuff. And I was walking down the railroad track one day, which you're not supposed to do. You put yourself in danger. But I just started going through my head. I was walking down the railroad track with a rucksack on my back and thinking about the hobo and the way they used to jump the freights, Woody Guthrie and Jack Kerouac and the whole thing, the whole history of the beats. And so I worked a lot of that into the song, Woody and Jack Kerouac, and I kind of had an idea of doing it like, I don't know if you know the song, The Persecution and Restoration of Dean Moriarty, also known as On the Road. It's by Aztec Two-Step.
Oh, not familiar.
Yeah, the duo that came out in the 70s. That was their first real hit, and it was all over the radio. And I kind of had the idea of doing it in that style. But after I went to a show where there was they were celebrating Bob Dylan's music, and it was a lot of guitars and, good guitars. But what stuck out for me was a fiddle and pedal steel. And they were played by Russ Seeger, the fiddle, and Rob Stein on the pedal steel. And I asked them if they would come and play on my record. So that changed the whole style of it. So that's on the record, which is a different version, not the one you're going to play. But you're going to play the live version that I did with Todd Evans, and this is the basis of the way the Hank Stone Band does it with the harmonica, and I think we got the harmonica on here, but yeah. Todd's playing. Todd does some really nice leads. So this is what you're going to hear: Todd and I as a duo playing live at Deep Wells mansion.
Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you a little bit more.
Absolutely.
If you just scratch beneath the surface, you can learn a whole lot about an individual, even though you've known them for so many years. Thanks so much for coming on to NOOM Radio. We'd like to leave our listeners and to anyone who is watching the second song of Hank's, and it is called Toodaloo. And Toodaloo to you, Hank. We'll see you around. We'll see you soon.
Thanks again, Toby.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
1, 2, 3, 4. I've been walking down this railroad track with a rucksack upon my back. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train I'm gonna ride. It's a journey that I never took, one I read about in many a book. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train I'm gonna ride. As we clock out of the city, people are fewer and farther between. Diesel smoke and the sun make me gritty, but my spirit feels so clean. And if you're passing by this road and you hear something moaning on the rail, might be the whistle of a distant train or my bittersweet harmonica wail. Society will take a different tack. I ain't walking down this railroad track. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train I ride. Here comes a freight, let's jump it. There are gentle ghosts upon this road, scarred and weathered with the weight of the load. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train they ride. Scarred and weathered, not tarred and feathered, never been run out of town on a rail. They're miscast, not outcast, tuned to a different broadcast, question after a different grail. Bound for glory, don't look back, just like Cassidy and Kerouac. Oh, toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train we ride. Come on, Todd, tell them about it. If you want to see me sometime, follow the sound of the cricket choir. We'll discuss motorcycles and disciples over the campfire. And if you want to get to know me better, just bring along some of your favorite juice. We'll talk about Carl Jung and Mark Douglas Berardo till the stars jump the caboose. Walking down this railroad track, you know, sometimes I wonder if I'll ever go back. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train I ride. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train I ride. Toodaloo, toodaloo, blows the whistle of the train I ride. Thank you. Thank Todd Evans on the guitar.
Such a lovely song.
Great stuff from Hank. Yeah, I love every song I've heard Hank ever play. But yeah, that's a really nice feel and such an appropriate picture for it as well, with Hank standing in front of the railroad crossing. But and thanks Hank for dropping by. That was really interesting and really great to chat with you.
So nice. I want to just at this moment just give a quick some information about any songwriters out there who are interested in having their music